Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing that at the end of the war, all of Gaza will be under Israel's control.
יש לנו תוכנית מאוד סדורה.
At his first press conference this year, Netanyahu also said publicly for the first time that Israel has likely killed Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. Israel's military said it had targeted Sinwar in a strike on a hospital in southern Gaza earlier this month. Joining me now is Jon Allen, a former Canadian ambassador to Israel, and Thomas Juneau is a professor at the University of Ottawa's Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. Nice to see you both. Thanks for doing this today. Thomas, if I can start with you, Netanyahu, if this news is correct, that they have in fact killed Mohammed Sinwar, who was the last head of Hamas, how much does that weaken the organization in terms of its governance, its control, its ability to manage the Gaza Strip?
It weakens it a bit, but not more than that. And we know now it's been 18 months of this war. Hamas leaders have been systematically killed at the top level, at mid levels, at lower levels. Troops, terrorists, militants have been killed. And every time we've seen Hamas being able to consistently recycle itself, recruit others, promote commanders within the organization. Hamas is an organization that for years now, and we've known this, it's been well documented, has very effective contingency plans or succession plans. So the structure is organized, the culture of the organization is built so that when leaders at whatever level are killed or disappear, they are replaced and the organization continues. So when one, powerful leader like Sinwar, the brother of the previous leader, is killed, it's a good thing overall. It weakens the organization, but not that much.
Jon, I think the bigger news coming out of this was this clear and very pointed declaration by Netanyahu that at the end of whatever this military operation is, whenever that might be, that Israel will maintain control over it. How important is that to the allies of Israel across the world and everybody watching this situation unfold? Because that is a fundamental difference from what we had heard at the outset of this conflict.
It's a fundamental difference. Western countries and countries around the world will not accept this as the outcome. The statement issued by Canada, the UK, and France, for example, talked about the day after the Arab plan, the Egypt Arab plan that would see humanitarian aid flowing, reconstruction, and eventual governance in Gaza. The idea that Israel thinks that it can reoccupy Gaza while an insurgency, a Hamas insurgency remains, and while 2.1 million Palestinians are put in the south in an area of 20% of the Gaza Strip is completely outrageous. And frankly, I don't think it's possible. Israel currently has a problem getting its reserve soldiers to rearm and to come back. It's occupying large parts of the West Bank. It's still dealing with the remnants of Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's actually invaded parts of Syria. It can't possibly reoccupy Gaza without serious problems for it and for the rest of the world.
Thomas, I see you nodding along. The statement, just so everybody knows what we're talking about, the statement that was issued by the governments of Canada, the UK, and France earlier this week called the suffering in Gaza intolerable. It warned Israel to stop its military operations in Gaza, immediately allow humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. I wonder how big of a shift is that in terms of a message coming from the governments of those three countries, and what difference do you think it might make?
So I've seen a fair bit of comment in the last 48 hours that this is a significant shift coming from these three countries. And I tend to disagree in the sense that it's a statement. It does threaten future concrete actions, but at this point, it's only words, it's only rhetoric. So I don't see a shift as long as there is no concrete action that is actually implemented. Furthermore, the position that is expressed in that statement by France, the UK, and Canada is by and large consistent, or at least not significantly different from criticism that we have seen in the past. So far, I don't see a significant shift, at least not yet. The second part of your question, how much of an impact will it have? Again, not much of an impact in the sense that there's only one international actor that can really have an impact on Israel's decision-making calculus, and that's the US. France and the UK are not negligible as international actors. They can have a bit of an influence, Canada even less than them, but fundamentally, as long as the US does not put significant pressure on Israel to change course, in this case, and as Jon very well explained right before, in terms of its operations in Gaza, then I don't think that we're going to see a significant shift in Israel's actions.
I also want to fold in the incident that happened in the West Bank today. There was a group of diplomats in the city of Jenin that while they were visiting there came under fire. Foreign Minister Anand has said in the last hour that she's confirmed 4 Canadian personnel were with that group of diplomats. They're summoning Israel's ambassador to answer to it. Jon, this is a considerable escalation in the diplomatic tensions. Where do you see this unfolding in the next 24 to 48 hours?
Well, this is almost unheard of. I don't have all the details, but the fact that you had a group of diplomats who were not properly protected by the IDF or other security forces while they were in the West Bank, and if they were being attacked by settlers, for example, is unconscionable. I would, though, say that I disagree to some extent with Thomas, because I do think that the statement that was made is quite significant. I have never heard those 3 countries condemn the siege, the possible displacement, and the disproportionate use of military action as war crimes, essentially. I've never heard that kind of language. And the fact that they are committing to recognize a Palestinian state is new. And they're also talking about specific sanctions, sanctions against settlers. I think that this is a positive, an important step forward. I agree with Thomas that, if Israel doesn't comply, and if they were to continue to do what the Prime Minister said he was going to do, that unless we see further action, that will be problematic. But this is significant, and other countries, the Italians, the Germans, have also come forth with condemnation. So I am hopeful that this will have an impact, and I'm also hopeful that the United States will join in at some point, basically saying enough is enough, get the food in, and get a ceasefire back on.
And if not, I mean, we've seen American, Canadian, European leaders take action in terms of sanctions against settler leaders and such before. We've never really seen them. I think the last time the Americans took any real action was under George H.W. Bush, where they canceled some loan guarantees back in the 90s. Thomas, what specifically would be seen as something these governments could do if they don't see progress that they feel is warranted at this step?
Well, the first thing I would say is on the U.S. side that, as I said, we haven't seen concrete actions by the U.S. so far, but there are indications that the Trump administration is starting to grow impatient with Israel, and specifically Mr. Trump with Mr. Netanyahu. We've seen the U.S. make a number of decisions and concrete actions, not just words, in the last few weeks that have gone clearly against Israeli preferences. Negotiations with Iran, lifting of sanctions on Syria, the ceasefire with the Houthis in Yemen, Mr. Trump going to the Middle East and not going to Israel. So there are indications that Mr. Trump is getting impatient, especially with the fact that there's no ceasefire, as he said in the past that he wanted. Then, of course, the next question is, what is going to happen? Is Mr. Trump going to seriously want to commit to a peace process between Israel and Hamas and the broader Palestinian movement. As an aside, we talk a lot about pressure by Western countries, the US, Canada, on Israel. That's essential. But there also has to be a parallel effort of pressure on Hamas to continue weakening it, to make sure that it has as little of a role as possible in the future, and with the Palestinian Authority, which has to be strengthened, which has to be reformed so that it becomes the partner on the Palestinian side for various post-war scenarios. So yes, pressure on Israel, and there's an important discussion at that level, but what really is missing right now is that other aspect, which is who's the partner on the Palestinian side? It's the Palestinian Authority, but it needs to be supported, it needs to be strengthened, it needs to be reformed.
But who, John, and you lived in the area 2006, 2010, not nearly what it is today, but those were turbulent years, wars in Gaza, blockades at the border as well. Who is it that needs to lead those conversations? Like the Qataris are leading the negotiations, I suppose. The Saudis tried to sign the Abraham Accords that essentially cut the Palestinians out of the picture. They didn't end up doing that. But, who is on the other side of that sort of conversation that Thomas is talking about?
Well, inevitably, an American administration has to be involved in that. It's very good to have the Arab League and an Egyptian plan to begin to reconstruct in Gaza. I absolutely agree that you need new governance amongst the Palestinian Authority. We need new leadership in Israel. Bibi Netanyahu has to go. We need new leadership in the Palestinian Authority. Mahmoud Abbas is 88 years old, and there's corruption and nepotism there. But this is possible. There will be an election in Israel, likely a right-of-center prime minister with a center and center-left coalition. There is inevitably going to be new leadership in the Palestinian Authority. And you need then leadership in the United States with the help of other Western countries, as Thomas said, to enhance governance in the Palestinian Authority, to move this process forward. But it is doable, it is possible, and frankly, it's the only way, because two states is the only way that these 7.5 million Jews, Israeli Jews, and 7.5 million Arabs are going to be able to share this land.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there for today, but there's lots more to discuss. I really appreciate the insight from both of you. Thank you for this. Thomas Juneau and Jon Allen joining us this afternoon.